Now turning to developments in a controversy involving justice, national security, press freedom, and how this Garland Justice Department is dealing with the legacy of Trump-era decisions at the same DOJ. Now, traditionally, a new administration continues prosecutions and trials that began under the previous one. But Trump wasn't a traditional president. His many improper plots to abuse power at that same DOJ are documented across 2 impeachments, several criminal probes, part of our top story tonight. So there are actually good reasons why experts say you have to bring skepticism to some of the DOJ's cases from the Trump era with less deference than previous administrations were afforded. That includes the aggressive and precedent-busting espionage charges filed against a publisher, and an infamous one at that. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, who operated for many years and clashed with governments around the world. In the Obama era, there was debate over how to check him or potentially charge him, but the DOJ concluded if you're not going to prosecute journalists for publishing classified information, there's no way to prosecute Assange. And that was then. But you're watching the news, so this is now, and this is about now echoing the recent Trump past. Because it was not until Trump came to power, a man with no interest in protecting press freedoms, it was not till then that the U.S. turned from countering Assange in other ways to actually trying to make history by jailing a publisher as a treasonous spy after Trump and his aides dialed up the rhetoric. And they likened this individual, whatever you think of him, he's a person who works mostly with documents, words, and pixels. They presented him as an actual hostile intelligence service, literally.
WikiLeaks walks like a hostile intelligence service and talks like a hostile intelligence service. We can no longer allow Assange and his colleagues the latitude to use free speech values against us.
I'm not a fan of WikiLeaks.
Can you talk about whether it's a priority for your department to arrest Assange once and for all?
Yes, it is a priority.
One of the most notorious and controversial figures in the world is finally in custody.
The U.S. leveling more than a dozen new charges against WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange.
Federal prosecutors say Assange was no journalist because he actively helped Army Private Chelsea Manning get thousands of classified documents.
Now, those Trump-era charges are still on the books tonight. Assange has been fighting a battle to avoid extradition to the U.S., and he's been doing that since the Trump DOJ began this pursuit. Now he's fighting this Garland DOJ, making the same pursuit. Now, I'll tell you, if you've ever thought about Julian Assange, he's obviously well known. There are also wider debates about what makes a reporter, whether Assange is a responsible actor or even a good person. But that's not what this is about tonight. I want you to bear with me. This is super important. The question for law and journalistic freedom at a time of rising hate and attacks on democracy, the question for these things is narrower. It's not whether you like Assange. It's whether this Trump-era crackdown opens the door to jailing legitimate journalists. Is it fair for the government to use these powerful tools against spies and traitors? That's what the Espionage Act was designed for. And take that and use it to investigate, extradite, or jail journalists who largely deal in words and documents and leaks. It's back in the news now because some of the most respected leaders in traditional journalism, the New York Times, The Guardian, and other international outlets are speaking out and formally saying no, that this Trump-era prosecution is overkill, and that the Garland DOJ is wrong to keep pursuing it on basically the same lines as Trump's DOJ did. Let me read to you from an unusual statement where the leaders of the press outlets I just mentioned say the Garland DOJ should end its prosecution of Julian Assange for publishing secrets, which they argue set a dangerous precedent for freedom of the press. And that's not all. You think about what we're living through, what our top story was tonight. These papers, this isn't just me talking or just American political folks. These papers put all of this in the context of the democracy crisis we see in many Western countries now. And they argue this kind of crackdown, which Merrick Garland is co-signing right now, a crackdown on potentially an adversarial press and leaks the government doesn't like, can lead directly to our democracies becoming significantly weaker. Translation: the New York Times is telling Attorney General Garland, as you probe those insurrectionists and convict those seditionists, don't go throwing publishers and reporters in the same jail cells, because that would undermine the very democracy and rule of law that you claim to be defending. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. That's not a direct quote. And, you know, I got to tell you, it's easy to kind of forget in this era we live in with Twitter and everything, where it feels like a lot of folks can sound off about everything all the time. I'm quoting the institutional voice of the New York Times, one of the most respected voices in journalism, period. It's not a tweet storm. And they don't just casually weigh in on open criminal cases of people indicted for espionage. And they don't just have some secret reason they want to go associate themselves with a foreign activist who is reviled by many people in America, from the Democratic Clinton network, which really reviles Assange for his 2016 campaign leaks. They've publicly said they see him as a tool for Russian intelligence. He's reviled by these Trump folks I mentioned, who also formally got him indicted. And he's also reviled by the very powerful and largely bipartisan national security establishment in the U.S. As a journalist, I can tell you, in and out of government, that's a powerful group, but the Times knows that. What I'm telling you is, dude is not popular. But this is not about dude. Keep that in mind. So what does the Garland DOJ say? What does Merrick Garland and Joe Biden's age, what do they say about this? If I'm telling you this, and this checks out, and this is going on, and the Times and all these journalists and human rights groups are saying this is a terrible and dangerous precedent, especially with who might become president in the future, well, here's a strange part of all this. While the Biden administration doesn't automatically have to echo the Obama-Biden administration, that DOJ and that White House did oppose this move that I'm telling you Garland is now pursuing, trying to extradite and jail Assange on espionage charges. And so we checked. When reporters did ask about this, it sounded like the Biden administration, in a sense, wanted to have it both ways, claiming this is up to DOJ, but the president supports freedom of the press in general.
But what is your response to the message in some quarters that prosecuting Assange is an assault on freedom of speech, freedom of press, information, etc.?
Well, I would again reiterate that this is a case that is still ongoing. It's really under the purview of the Department of Justice. Broadly speaking, outside of this case, that the president has been an advocate for freedom of speech, freedom of press.
Outside of the case. Outside of this case, here's our view. That's the key line there. Of course, that was then Press Secretary Jen Psaki, now at MSNBC. And here's the thing about law. It is built on cases. You get a precedent jailing a publisher in one case, it will be easier in the next case and the one after that. I promise you that. You go to law school, it's 3 years of reading cases. 1 case, 2 case, 3 case. They, the Garland Justice Department, are doing the bidding of the Trump DOJ to get a case that says you can snatch up a reporter from anywhere in the world, extradite them back to the U.S., and jail them because they published something. Or, as they would put it, they helped steal and publish something. But if you follow the news, you may have seen there's a lot of leaks that are not authorized, that people call stolen. Now, for his part, Garland has pointed to other rules which he says will protect journalists, and they're raising the bar for when the FBI uses certain powerful tools that he says could impair news gathering. But the New York Times is stressing that what impairs news gathering is jailing publishers, treating them like spies and traitors. Now, there's been no word yet about the DOJ reassessing this case, and if it would have happened around the transition of administrations, you would have expected it to happen by now. But let me tell you something tonight. If Merrick Garland ignores what the Times and the Guardian and many legal experts are saying, including some of the Obama-era prosecutors who passed on this type of case, as I showed you before, if Merrick Garland ultimately dunks this alley-oop pass from the Trump-era DOJ, nobody knows how future administrations will use this power. In a time of rising and open calls to overthrow elections and stifle the press and do authoritarian things on the American right, to censor or punish the press, there are many examples that go totally separate from the last president, although this is a Trump-era case. You have Governor Ron DeSantis, who's rumored to be a potential Republican presidential candidate. He's cracked down on the press in all sorts of ways and played favorites, to a Republican senator now blasting a landmark First Amendment win, the New York Times victory over Nixon in the famous Pentagon Papers case. That's taught in law schools. It's been often hailed as a bipartisan standard for confronting government power and abuse. Traditional conservatives say the government, the federal government, is powerful and you need freedom and support for free actors to check government power. That's how the Pentagon Papers case has long been thought. But this week, Senator Tom Cotton says that case is basically wrong, and he has plans to try to limit press freedoms, arguing basically the losing side in that landmark case.
Press, unfortunately, has a long and sordid history of publishing sensitive information from inside the government that damages our national security. During the Vietnam War, the New York Times published the Pentagon Papers in an effort to demoralize the American people and turn them against the war effort.
Okay. That's what Senator Cotton thinks. And that's what the Trump-era folks thought. But it's also what Merrick Garland's DOJ is doing. And you have to ask yourself when you look at a situation like this, does it all relate? The rising authoritarianism, the attacks on free speech and free reporting, and the vilification of people. Fine, Julian Assange is really reviled by many people for many reasons. I showed you that. But sometimes to really understand what's going on, you have to look behind that. Why do they want you to hate the person? Why are they making someone out to be a literal enemy of the state? Why is Merrick Garland taking the Trump case and pursuing it? And is that good for democracy and freedom? Is that good for you? Hey, I'm Ari Melber. Thanks for watching The Beat. I wanted to let you know I'm writing a foreword to the January 6th committee's full report, which is coming out soon from HarperCollins. You can go pre-order the book right now, and it'll come to you first when the report comes out in the fall or whenever the government releases it. Just search Melber Jan 6 on Amazon or your favorite independent book site and click pre-order. You'll be the first to get both the report and my new piece on the coup conspiracy. You can also go to melberbook.com and order it there.